Our next speaker is Bob Neumann. Bob is the board secretary for the Democratic World Federalists. He is the author of a book titled There's Got to Be a Way, Poetic Arguments for World Government. Please welcome Bob Neumann.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Passing around here a poem.
Keep the mic close to your mouth.
Okay, sorry. Passing around the poem here, because many of us are better readers than we are ear listeners. I'm the guilty one of that. And I'm not talking about volunteerism. I want to draft 60-year-olds. To put them in a almost war situation. Because we got to get away from the war. And we're still going to have the problems. Basques are going to say, we don't want to be part of Spain anymore. You got Kurds say, we don't want to be Turks. We want to be Kurds. Excuse me. I got it mixed up. So that's what I'm about. And let me read the poem and then we'll open it up for some questions. On here, take the glasses off. I can't read with the glasses on. Very simple. 60-year-old peace warriors. A world government must renounce the first use of warfare. Use nonviolent, mass, unarmed persuasion first, foremost. A world govy will not make everything peachy keen. We're a hideous, emotional, war-making breed with long cultures of violence. A fighting army will be needed. Professional army, preferably of ex-policemen, heavily armed. We need police in our society. They come heavily armed. And we accept that. It seems to be sort of necessary. Okay, let's go on here. This fighting army should follow behind huge, unarmed battalions of white-haired peace warriors, drafted, who aim to persuade the near violent to yield to world law and world opinion peacefully. Partially isolate the area from incoming arms, ammo, money, supporters, and foreign fighters. March, push, disrupt, demand, day in and day out. Verbal solutions, not warring solutions. Keep the peace. Yet there will be violent outbreaks. 10,000 generations of warring, like slavery, will just not disappear. If and when the heavy shooting starts, the army would form a moving fortress around a few peace volunteers and totally isolate the combatants from the world. Make the warring dependent upon the peace warriors for food, water, power, medicine, outside contact. Use rubber bullets, water cannons, etc., or guns. Diplomats, not generals, to lead all the warriors. Shoot as little as possible. Only the 60-year-olds attack verbally. Persuasion may seem to take forever, maybe decades. It would not be pretty, but not like we do war now. The high ideals of a Gandhi, king, and mankind would lead. Hopefully in long decades from now, the main job of all warriors would be in a world peace corps. So that's a nutshell of my peace warrior idea here. So let me encourage you now for questions, comments, ridiculousness, whatever.
Ridiculous.
It's a different idea, but I don't think violence is going to just stop if you get a world government.
Exactly.
Just like in any civil society, the English have to have bobbies. I like the old idea of the English bobby. No arms. Remember? Now they armed. But when I was a kid, I said, my God, they go after the criminals without a gun? There's a question there, I think. Yes?
My question is, do we have time? That is, there are proposals for world government and things like that. These proposals have been out there for a century. And we sit here, and if you've read Daniel Ellsberg's new book, Doomsday Machine, we have 2 doomsday machines, and this is not an exaggeration, this is not a figure of speech, ready to go off at any second. Every moment, every day, we roll the dice. The weapons aren't in control. They can go out of control of the leadership of the country, and they go into whose hands we do not know. And there are 3,000 of them ready to go off like that.
I'm with you. Yes.
So, with this point of urgency, don't we need something concrete to do whatever it is right away?
Unfortunately, the concrete is the same thing that created the League of Nations and the UN. Sadly, 50 to 70 million people died in World War II. And the people got thinking, oh, nationalism doesn't work so well. All these individual countries shoot at each other. It's bad news.
We didn't have nuclear weapons then.
I agree. But we're thick-headed. We are thick-headed. I agree with you. The 3,000 sit there. I have a little nightmare scenario. I call it the poem Trumpy. And Trumpy says, oh, I got to get the attention away from me. How about a little war with Iran? We'll just make them, set up an ultimatum. Put all your missiles on the beach. We'll tow them away and sink them. The Iranians will say, hey, that's an act of war. Let's talk. And Trumpy says, well, most of your weapons are sitting in one test area that juts out into the Indian Ocean. A 40-mile pile of rock and caves, and you use it for your missiles. One hydrogen bomb. We'll do it. And of course, things build up. Okay, it's enough of me. Yes? I'm sorry, the lady behind you. Okay, go.
Are you aware of the California Pact that outlaws war that the United States has petitioned for?
Oh, I'm very aware of it. But, you know, there's God's law too, and we don't follow that. So what else is new? Thou shalt not kill thy brother. Kind of old. Yes?
My thought, maybe an extension is, maybe there's still going to be violence, but we sure as heck rest a lot easier if we had nuclear violence off the table first.
That's what I'm thinking about, is that you send in non-violent people, 60-year-olds, to calm it down before it blows up. Think what they do now when you have a shooter who's, a crazy guy who's going nuts, and he's killed he's killed his wife and the other half of his family, and he's got his kids there, and he says, I'm going to shoot anybody who comes near my house. Okay, the police swarm around it, but they also send a talker to try and talk him out, to try and save the kids. We've learned a little bit about that. And that's what we're talking about here. You're going to have the violence, whether in civil society or in world society. People will get so mad they'll do anything to change it. Okay, comment, question, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, and I think this is the separation. I just came back from the UN, and let me tell you, it's a total generational separation. My generation and generations after mine, millennials and people after that, we are global. I have friends from Russia, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, everywhere in the world, China, a lot of friends from China. The nuclear weapons is a good point if you're talking in 10 years, because I never heard a young person say they don't fear nuclear weapons or anything. But then we have a lot of other problems too, like automated robots that can kill people and stuff like that as well. And you'll see that grow even more. The big thing is economics. The more the economic conditions deteriorate, war is just basically a subset of an argument. And if we cannot agree on who owns this, who owns that, then you have to go and to create violence. That's how humans work. That's how we worked over many years. And it's so difficult because it's a huge generational shift. And I think you're going to see, if we can make it the next 10 years, I think that's what you're saying, right? If we can make it to that point when we see this big shift. But I would say, like, please have a lot of faith, because the younger generations, it is totally different. We don't see ourselves as Russians, Americans, and any of this stuff. We don't really see it like that. And I think you're seeing it right now when we're having a political revolution in America right now. And you'll see basically the kind of things they propose. That's it.
Unfortunately, there's no shortage of soldiers.
I want to remind myself and everyone that fear is a frequency that separates us from our enlightened soul sense of what we know. Inside of us, we know that peace, love, and joy is our organic right to be. Because we were born to shed light, to evolve and grow. And I thank you, because I have children of this generation that are doing some really good work too internationally. My son with Shareable, which is a group that is consciously organizing communities to identify their resources and see how they can all share and rise together. And so the problem I have with the peace movement is there is a polarity that we are buying into that is contrived, and it has been planned for centuries because it separates us. Polarities separate us. And so the poem is a beautiful poem, but it also speaks of the polarity. And so what each of us needs to find out is, inside of ourselves, what is it that I do every day that affirms love, peace, and joy? And how can we start understanding that we move mountains collectively by consciousness, and that what we see in the physical is the end point of consciousness, not the beginning point we react to, but the end point. And so what this young man is speaking of is there is a collection of people that don't entertain fear, that don't entertain hatred. They don't allow it into their consciousness, and they are rising our world. They are lifting us. And this is the hope of our planet.
Yeah.
And I say this to children that are born, because I've taken care of over 2,000 babies being born. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. That you must trust your children. That we must not fall to fear. And so I'm very appreciative of the nuts and bolts actions that are being done. But we must all remember how powerful we each are. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Let me remind you of this. I'm a Southerner. I grew up and watched Martin Luther King free up the country. And it was so obvious, even to a young kid, hey, this ain't fair. Black only, white only. But it took decades and thousands of nonviolent pushing to get something that was perfectly obvious to most people. Gee, there's not that much difference between us. But think of the decades that had to go into that. That's what I'm talking about with gun violence. Okay, I think my time is way up.